So to our distinguished audience, we would like to welcome you to another edition of Mainstream Main Gist, where you get to see the software, the people behind the scenes who make the power sector tick and who operationalize it. And with me again in the studio today, my colleague Olivia.
Not your wing woman
Not
today.
my wing woman today, Olivia.
Yes.
You know, it's quite interesting today. It gives my singular honor and pleasure that we have one of those people who's basically just oil, who grease the bolts and the joints of the power sector. And as our culture is Oli, we would allow him to introduce himself, and our audience will get to know him. Please, sir.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. It is actually an ambush of sorts. My name is Usman. I work currently as Executive Director, Corporate Services at Mainstream Energy. And that's really who I am, by way of introduction, for the purposes of what we're doing this morning. So it's great to be here. It's great to share a few tips and also to learn from you here as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. So I'll fire the first salvo, Oli. So, sir, you see, you have, there's a power sector and then there's the energy sector. And you seem to have transversed these places. And you've gone through from one sector to the other. And here we are now in the power sector. At a critical point in the lifetime of the power sector, the question is, are there recurrent issues within this sector as it affects the human resourcing, the people who work within it? Are there similarities, or they are as different as they come?
That's very interesting, actually, because when you think about it, work almost everywhere remains work, and like you pointed out, I spent some time in the oil and gas, which also is referred to as energy in some, and then power sector, as it were. But technically, there really isn't much difference in terms of specifics. What you just need to do is just to keep on building capacity. That's all it takes, to be able to address whatever challenges come along, whatever those objectives are and remain. One thing I have been fortunate somehow is getting into a sector that's just about to kick off. When I got into the oil and gas, the particular area was the liquefied natural gas, and that was just the beginning.
Okay.
There wasn't much, capacity. There wasn't much people who knew about it, It was basically people working in the oil industry. So we helped to shape the sort of skills, if you like, required in that area. We were part of the very beginning. And that kind of puts you in a better position as you moved along. With the power sector, it was actually quite interesting. There's a whole lot of skills. However, as we all know in Nigeria, what has happened is a comprehensive shift from social government-run enterprise into, the capitalist mode.
Yes.
Which was basically is concerned with the bottom line ultimately. Now, the trick here is, as much as it's a business now, there's also the very serious social side of things, because it is developmental, because it has impact on every Nigerian. So you needed to strike a balance between the need for profits as well as the need to help develop Nigeria, as it were. Ultimately, the issue remains that of capacity, really, So that's this relationship. But ultimately, if you work in a bank, or you're working in insurance, you work in the power sector, it's just the skills you bring to bear on achieving set goals.
Okay.
That's how I look at it. That's been my experience, really.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Olivia, it's. I'm going to ask that question, and then I'm going to sort of let you, apply the stuff. He mentioned something about when LNG, liquefied natural gas, was coming in, and what I've noticed in my little observation of you, sir, is you have this knack this fortune of being thrown into into the ring when things are about to change, because I understand you also were there when, just like you rightly said, when it came into the business, when power moved from just being the social sector into the business mode. What are some of how have you fared in making that change? Because it's been a huge organizational change from what it was, NEPA days, when it was just
Yeah.
generate. If it gets to your house,
gets
sure.
agreed or
If
not.
it doesn't get, just generate, and then do the. You've been there right from when major industrial relations changes have happened. How have you fared? What are those things that you just shake your head and think, how did we survive? What are those things? Can you tell us a little bit about some of those things in general terms?
The short answer to that really is culture.
Okay.
Aha.
Right, culture change, because whatever changes that happened over the last 10 years happened with the same people largely. What was it they did before and what are they doing now? Pre and post privatization. That's really when you look at it. But in the Nigerian sense, because of how much the power sector has steadily contributed to GDP, right? You can liken it to some kind of revolution of sorts. Again, cast your mind back to the banking consolidation of 25 years ago, when the whole thing changed and when technology came in. Now we're sitting in our rooms and doing transactions that you could not think of in the previous. So really, that is how, but I like the way you said, yes, I've been very fortunate, really. Some people may run away. I stuck with it. Incidentally, I happened to also be a pioneer staff of MTN.
Okay.
Now, that is not power, but that is also technology.
Yeah,
And we got into MTN at the very beginning when nobody knew what GSM was.
Wow.
So again, this is now building specific skills, to address that revolution when it happened, So it's something I look back with pride. So telecoms, oil and gas, energy, banking, consulting, it's all about people. And I like to see myself, I see myself as, when they ask you what are your hobbies, throughout my interviews, maybe in the last 15, 20 years, people are my hobbies. I'm naturally somebody, people's person, and that actually guided, my career.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. Somebody saw that back in 1996 or 97. And because of my interest in people, I have an interest in everybody that works along with me. Everyone. Nobody is left behind, as it were. And then that's just it. So that hobby, because a lot of times when you're doing something you like, it stops being work. It stops being something you complain about. But today here, where my work is not restricted to HR anymore. Like I'm looking at, things from regulatory perspective, revenue perspectives, budgeting and future developments and all of that, So yes, that's what forms like the fulcrum, for me, people,
And this is so apt because speaking about people, you've also spoken about capacity. And then we also have the Mainstream Academy, which you basically founded. So can you give us some insight into how you try to become, I'm imagining that you try to merge all these things together. People, you've mentioned capacity, you've mentioned culture. So what were you thinking about when you created the Mainstream Academy?
First, the inspiration for a physical facility came from one of my trips to Ghana.
Okay.
I went to VRA. VRA is Volta River Authority. It's like their NEPA in Ghana.
Okay.
That was the inspiration for the physical facility.
Okay.
But again, let's quickly rewind back to what I said 2 minutes ago about capacity, building skills. I just needed to structure it. Because what we did before 2018, was just send people for training. So we wanted to domesticate that. And to an extent, also make some money out of it. You know, because when you think about it, HR, support services are usually cost centers. You know, and I was
Yeah.
determined to make it a revenue center as well. You know, at the very best, we balance out. At the very best. But ultimately, my ultimate vision for that academy, for this academy, is to evolve into a university.
Okay.
University of, you know, power,
Okay.
whatever you want to call it, where you teach young people aspects of generation, distribution, transmission, all things to do with the power sector. Very specific, very unique. Again, I've recently been offered help from China,
Interesting.
yeah, from the Three Gorges.
Wow.
And there's a university that's been created. I never knew that. They actually had universities specifically for power generation.
Wow.
You know, so this is what I'm looking at in the near future. However, for now, the academy is catering to our own internal needs, where we continue to build capacity, internal needs where we grow capacity, bringing young people, keeping them there for a year, going through what we call the graduate trainee scheme. We've had 3 runs now, we're about to start the 4th one, and as well as to earn revenue for the company. Okay, we're partnering with OEMs, we're partnering with other specialists, you know, in the sector to be our faculty and help us with curriculum. And very shortly, we will be leading a training program to actually train other Gencos in Nigeria on how to integrate their generating units into the national SCADA. Because our own team, internal team, from zero, you know, they actually have gotten mainstream integration ready. There was a recent directive by NERC that all generating units in the country should integrate to the national SCADA. You know, so we can all see what's going on online, real time. What the buzzword, what IoT in terms of things along those lines. Now, when the meeting happened, it was only mainstream that demonstrated its integration readiness. Immediately I got that information, I said, I want to commercialize that.
Interesting.
You know, and I got support of EXCO, and I put together with the team a curriculum. I shared with the MD of NISO. He's ready to go.
Amazing.
So we'll get all these Gencos. They will pay. They will pay. We will not only train them at the academy, we'll also handhold the actual operationalization.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody's happy with that. So we're partnering with several agencies around the country to train, you know, those people who have the mandate
Okay.
to invest in education of their communities. We bring them because power is in the future, really.
Yeah.
There are a lot more things happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you asked my what was the vision? What was this is basically what it is. Ultimately there'll be a university, but in the meantime, build capacity, not just for Nigerian power sector, but across the West African sub-region.
Okay.
I've been around all those countries in the West African power pool. I've shared thoughts with some of the leaderships in those areas. And the only challenge we have, like you may probably know, is the language. Most of West
Yeah.
Africa is French.
French.
You know, there's two or three countries that speak
they
English.
speak English.
So that's a headache I want to pass on to somebody else to take. And, yeah.
So, sir, you said something that I mean, we have to bring it to a close. But finally, you said something that's quite very, 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 very philosophically sort of just knits it together for us. You mentioned the GNT. We had a SCADA specialist coming earlier sometime during the edition, and that SCADA specialist graduated from the graduate trainee program you mentioned, which is to say, looking back respectfully, if you didn't create an avenue for graduate trainees to be brought together, we probably wouldn't have, specialists in SCADA, so to speak, when you look at it from a fatal point of view. Now, in saying that, we are not there yet regarding the power sector. We're not there yet. There's so much aspirations. There are so many places to be. And you mentioned something. You mentioned about the fact that the future is quite wide. So there's generation, there's transmission, and there is distribution. Now there's quite a lot of rural electrification going on and all that. So it's really just spiraling into different parts wanting to come together. All of that is going to be done by humans, and the human resource is very, very vital. We're not there yet. Where, in closing out, what do we need to do to get to where we're going? regarding that with all of this going on now and the human resource requirements for that future you talk about? What do we need to do?
Well, this is a very heavily loaded question, really, because to a large extent, it transcends what we need to do as individuals in an organization. Okay, we'll continue to build our skills, continue to grow those skills. However, consideration, right, of the entire system, as it were. Okay, and I'm talking about policy. I'm talking about regulation. I'm talking about the political climate, as it were. Now, our power sector is over 100 years old. Right? It has evolved in different names and formats. But it has not kept pace, like many other things, it hasn't kept pace with development. Okay? So there's a whole lot of work that needs to be done clearly with infrastructure. But then we're now getting to the political area of things, which is, beyond maybe briefs at this point. But as long as those things are not in place, because someone from mainstream or Sahara or Disco cannot wake up and go and fix transmission, for example. So that has to be done so that whatever way, when you are able to sell a vision, clearly see where you want to go, clearly can see, and there's no road to get there, becomes a problem. Yeah? So, we can all sit here anywhere else and say, we need this, we need that. There's a big thing that needs to happen. And as long as that doesn't happen, we'll just continue to, do things suboptimally. Okay? So that's basically, it might not be the kind of, we want to make it all, embellish, but really, this is it. There are people today in the system who can do this work. There are people today in this system. 10, 12 years, it's a long time. A lot has happened. And we have some very smart people. We're actually working with some of retired people who want to build a team of the retirees into a sort of R&D type of, but we also need support, we also need political support. The politics side of things needs to just do its own bit, because we can only do so much, So I would probably just, to answer you, I would say if those parts of the equation improve, so will the entire power system. So it's not about one disco not doing its work or one Jinko not doing its work or it's a value chain that's all linked. And as long as one does not really function optimally, some will be challenged. Right?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, sorry, sir, I know that we said we are about to round up, but one last question, sir. So you've moved largely from human resources and now you're executive director of the corporate services. And can you shed some insight into what you do now, what you cover, what aspects of the operations you
They just
cover?
more gray hair, that's all. That's just what it is, I don't know. It's what is majorly different right now is I sit on the board of the company
Okay.
right now. But all this while, I've had input into executive management decisions, as it were. Today, even though it's, they tell you this is your responsibility, as it were, you have people who are capable to run these things. Yes, you are responsible for them, but you're doing a whole lot more. Now, what does this mean, Executive Director of Corporate Services? In terms of the structure, it means now that I have oversight over the human resources of the organization, over the administration of that organization, over what we call civil projects. Every project minus technical, right? And civil projects include staff housing, offices, support for foundation.
Okay.
And those is a massive area in itself. Then the entire corporate security is also something I have oversight for. This is what the structure defines as Executive Director of Corporate Services.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yes.
Does that answer you?
That answers the
Thank you.
question. And that explains why you travel to Zungeru hydropower plant a lot
All the
these days.
time,
Because we
it's
have a
new
lot of
baby.
projects going on
Absolutely,
there.
absolutely.
So
Yes. I want to make it the London of Nigeria, that location.
Wow.
Yes.
Going to
We
happen
can't
soon.
wait to
I was going to
see-
say something. I said I was going to say I'd never met such an infectious optimist. You know, he infects you with optimism, and you're like, I can do this. You want to take on any task, which is what he said now. The London, you see,
The London of
But thank
Nigeria.
you so very much for coming, sir. It's an honor and a privilege for having you here at Mainstream Main Gist, and hopefully we'll be able to bring you in more as things advance and as we move from one point to the other, as your dreams get actualized for the sector. Because I do not see them as personal dreams; they are organizational dreams. So thank you so very much, viewers. You see, we landed the big pot, and you've heard from his words. He's moved from one sector to the other, and the peculiarities of what he's done in the sector and where we're heading to. We hope to bring him more as you get questions to us and as we answer them, and some of those queries, those things you want to know about the soft part of the power sector. We hope to see you in the next edition of Mainstream Main Gist. Thank you very much.